Hi, I'm Joan. I live in Lagos. I'm a plant and gardening content writer for my website, plantsandtropicalspaces.com.
I write about enlivening living spaces with tropical plants. My aim is to inspire a DIY gardening culture in my community.
Today, I would like to show you how I pot my plants. I make use of materials I find available. I use garden soil. If it's too heavy, I amend it with charcoal, coconut chips, or tree bark from my trees. And I find that that's the way I can afford to garden and to have as many plants as I want. When I'm working with soil, I like to wear gloves because, believe it or not, I'm still quite squeamish. I cannot touch an earthworm. So what I want to do today is pot this anthurium in this pot. It's clearly outgrown this pot. And I'm going to use a lot of charcoal in the mix and coconut chips for the anthurium. So what I'll do first is put a layer of charcoal. I also have terracotta pieces. These are terracotta pieces from broken clay pots. Okay, so I mean you don't throw them away, you can use them to line the bottom of the pot. This is a pot that had something green in it before, so I have this. There's just one hole in it, which is fine. Now terracotta is a good material to use out in the garden because it's porous, so it allows airflow to the roots. It has a disadvantage of drying out quickly, which is why perhaps people don't like to use it. But I think because it's a natural material, I like to use it. And another way you could use terracotta is have it in an area that you water often. So if you have terracotta pots, then you just know that you're going to water that area or water the plants in that area very often. Here, the ground gets really wet, so the terracotta during the rainy season, terracotta also has the advantage of being able to absorb moisture from the ground. So whether I wet it or not, it will just absorb the moisture from the ground and give that to the plant. I mean, that's quite an interesting thing. So I'm just going to put the pieces in the bottom of the pot. I just have those pieces there. Then I'm going to use some charcoal. I just want to use charcoal in chunks. Why am I using charcoal? Charcoal has some, it has absorbent properties as well, so it can hold moisture for plants. That's why orchid lovers use charcoal in their orchids, so it can hold moisture for the plant. And then these big pieces allow air to flow for to the roots. So what you want to avoid, which is the problem with garden soil, sometimes some types of garden soil, is that it becomes too heavy, and then the roots are unable to breathe. So if you are able to amend it in this way, so it's I'm using it just at the bottom here to have this layer, so that water can flow, air can flow. There's good drainage, to that's one thing again about plants. You don't want to have their roots sitting in water. So this is going to give me drainage. So imagine if I put the plant in here and then the roots go down, there will always be air pockets for the roots to find air, which is really, really what they want. So they want moisture and they also want air. So I'm just doing that. And then I will put some of this. I have this soil mix that I had used for another plant. It's a bit of compost, garden soil, tree bark, wood chips, so just all that to get aeration. So I'm just going to put a bit of that in there to start with. And so that goes in. And let's see if this can stay here. Okay, so I'll take it gently, tease it out of the pot. So, I'm just going to put it in. And let's see if this can stay here. Okay, so I'll take it gently, tease it out of the pot. Out of the pot. And I had this anthurium growing in my bedroom balcony at one time when it was a small plant, and it was doing quite well. But then I think sometimes I forgot to water it. The reason I took it off in the first place was while watering the plants during the dry season, I realized that I was having leaf damage or water damage to the leaves when I watered this anthurium. So I decided to take it away from the general area so that the water wouldn't touch the leaves. But what was causing this water damage? I wondered, and it turned out that it was the chemicals in my treated tap water that were damaging the leaves. Anthurium leaves will have this sort of marks on the leaves when water touches them. Of course, and they're also prone to tearing. So I want to keep it in an area that wouldn't be affected. So, but then I think I found a space for it in my garden. So I am going to put it out here and let the rain water touch it. This is actually trickier to. I'm trying to do that without damaging these roots that have formed very nicely. They'll obviously come out looking for moisture. So it's clearly showing that this plant needs to be repotted. But even if I damage these roots, I don't think this plant will mind very much. Some plants will not forgive you, but the anthurium I think will forgive me. So look at the roots. Ouch. So the roots are here. So well formed. I would tease them out a bit so that they can remember. Let's break that up. I think that I potted this maybe with a mix of charcoal and then the original potting medium that I had the anthurium growing in. Perhaps I think I cut it as a very small plant over a year ago, just over a year ago. So let me just tease that out. Okay, this is very well. So putting this at a level that's lower than just about an inch or so, or 2 inches lower than the soil. The roots are already up here, so I'm really going to have to pot this up, and there are more roots growing out from here. So I think this plant is going to be very happy with this new home. So I'm going to put some of my, this is soil mix that I made earlier with some garden soil, compost, charcoal. I should have mixed this thoroughly before starting, but it's fine. I think I can just improvise. I would still put layers of this. This is charcoal, sorry, coconut chips. This is just the coconut husk, which I cut up into small pieces. I am lucky to have a coconut tree at my parents' place, so I get coconut husks and I just chop them up. So that's just one way we can reuse materials that we have growing around rather than buy things all the time. If you can find other materials that you can use, then it's a way to reduce waste. If I didn't use this coconut husk, for instance, it might end up in the refuse bin and just not be useful to anybody or anything. So I'm using it in the garden. The coconut husk absorbs moisture as well, so it holds on to moisture for the plant, and it's a light material as well, so it's not going to make this pot extra heavy. Okay, so I have that. So I have my pieces of charcoal. I have the coconut husk. I would okay, let me just put some on top. The critical thing really is having the air spaces. For anthuriums, they like the moisture, but they hate to be soggy. You don't want to have a soggy anthurium. They don't want the soil to be wet and they're not getting air. When the soil is wet, the plant doesn't get air, and that's a terrible combination for the plant. So I think I'm done. Let's see how this goes. This is my anthurium potted in a mix of charcoal, coconut husk, and garden soil. So I'm going to top dress this with some tree bark. These are twigs, leaf litter from the trees in the garden. So when we trim the trees, the cypresses, we shred the twigs, the branches and leaves. So I'm just going to put this, and this is going to, in a way, imitate the growing conditions of the anthurium in the forest. So that's reusing the materials you have in your garden. So I've potted 2 anthuriums. This is the Anthurium crystallinum, and this is the Anthurium clarinarium. So they look similar, but this has shorter, more heart-shaped leaves. It's bigger and more elongated. Yeah, this has really suffered, but it's going to pick up now in this new pots and with the rings on it. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to my channel, Plants in Tropical Spaces, and also follow me on Instagram. You can DM me with your plant care questions, and then read my blog, plantstropicalspaces.com. So until the next video, bye.